Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing the second half of remove and install this vanity. This thing is not light. We're also up on the second floor, so one of the first things you want to know is how do you get something this heavy upstairs without killing your back? The secret to that is giving the delivery guys a good tip to haul it up for you. Let's get this thing unpacked, get it into the bathroom. With the price of lumber nowadays, this piece of masonite is probably worth 80 bucks. You can see that unlike the one that I pulled out, this has an opening in the back for all the plumbing to come through. No cutting necessary, it's real easy. Next, we'll drop the top in place, put the faucet on, and then run the plumbing. One thing to be aware of here, the one that I took out, the top was glued down to the vanity base. This one has some sort of non-skid strips here. They're not sticky, but that top is really heavy. I suspect that when it's sitting on there, it's not going to have any motion, so I'm not going to glue this down. This is a standard 48-inch across. The one that I pulled out was some strange thing like 57 inches. It was an oddball. The problem that caused was all of the baseboard. It was butted up against the old one. Since this one is a different size, it wouldn't match. So I had to pull all the baseboard out of here. Here's the faucet I'm going to put in. I'm going to hereby refer to it as Farrah. Of course, if you get that joke, you're old. Convention has hot on the left, cold on the right. If you look at these two, they look the same, but they are not the same. This valve opens in a different direction. What we don't want to happen is it to be here and you have to push away and then it runs into the wall and you can't actually turn it on, right? We want them so that when you turn it on, you pull toward you. So for this one, this is off and this is on. I know that because it says right here, this is hot. So this one's going to go over on this side. Then this one, off is here, on is here. So it's a reverse direction. Really important you pay attention to that, otherwise you end up having to take it apart. Ask me how I know. I've done them reversed before. Really typical attachment. This comes out. So it's way easier for me to show you this while it's up here. This has a rubber gasket that's going to seal against the surface. I'm going to take this off. Okay. Take these screws and loosen them all the way up. Then we're going to drop this down through the hole here. Underneath, we'll put this washer on. Then we'll tighten this up. Already, it's being a pain in the ass. Alright, then we'll tighten this up, right? Notice it's not hex-shaped or anything. There's no way we can put a wrench on it, and you don't want to. Tighten it up hand tight. It's going to be up against this washer. Then you use a screwdriver, and when you tighten this down, it actually pushes here, and that's going to tighten it up. It often helps to have a second person. You don't need it, but when you tighten this down, make sure that this is aligned properly, directly this way, and that pull is on. I've got it hand tight. Go back up above, make sure it's aligned. The spigot on this is fixed, so it doesn't rotate like you would maybe for a kitchen sink. So we need to make sure that it's aligned properly. You can see it's got this piece of threaded rod here, this mystery piece from before. It even says this side to deck, so this will go up. Basically, it's going to go up on like that. And then this piece of all thread goes on. You can see it's got a slot in it. That's designed so you can use a large screwdriver to turn it if you need to. We're again going to try. Of course, wrong size nut driver. Yeah, I'll have to go back to the garage to get something for it. At any rate, this comes down through. This goes on, then tighten. Simple. We get it hand tight. Notice there's a gap here. We got to recenter it. And we need it to be straight with the sink. Once you have it there, then go back down, tighten that nut or whatever you want to call it up. All right, that's tight. Next, we'll hook this line from the spigot here to the handles here. These look like they are just a push to lock. So we just put it on the fitting, push it on, and it should snap closed. I still need to get a set of supply lines. They connect from up here to here. You can see I've pulled the handles off of these. If you watched the last video, you'll know it's because I had to get it through the back of the old Vanity. At any rate, these supply lines do not come with the sink, primarily because they don't know how long you're going to need. So I'm going to have to measure that. It looks like probably a 12-inch or so. I'll see if I have any spares. Otherwise, I'll have to go purchase a couple of them. The drain is silly easy. Basically, we'll unscrew this. It's got a little gasket here. Drop it down in. Now we just tighten this from down below. This gasket, you can see it's conical. The cone goes up. Now, make sure you get it up past the threads. There's a little step. There we go. Now we just need to hook up a P-trap and hook up the supply lines. Alright, installing the P-trap. Pretty simple. It's called a P-trap because it sort of looks like the letter P. If you hold it just right, you can see that this part needs to be about flush with the bottom of this hole, which is about there. So that's a problem. So that means a trip down to my plumbing supplies in the garage and very likely a trip to the hardware store. I picked up this extension tube to go on here. So that'll extend this down so that then we can put a P-trap on that goes into here. I got some supply lines, both 12 and 9. I also picked up some of these. Basically it's decorative trim. So you flex it sideways a little bit, and it opens up, and you just put it on like this, and then you can put a screw in here and here to hold it in place. Or you can just leave it on like that, which is probably what I will do. Let's get these supply lines put in, and then we'll work on this P-trap. Wrong size. These old valves, this is larger. Lesson here, check the sizes before you go to the store and buy them. Let's see if we can get this P-trap in, or if I'll need parts for that. This is 1.25 inches. I bought 1.5 inches. Basically, I went to the store and bought everything wrong. So there are a couple things that this job has reminded me of that are really worth noting. First, this outlet, this drain, and the P-trap, they actually come in two different sizes. The most common size is 1.5 inches. The other is 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches fits on here nicely. 1.5 inches does not. A second one is these valves. Those are typically a 3/8 compression. Up on the fixture itself is 1/2 inch female inverted pipe. The less common is 1/2 inch compression, which is correct on this one. As is typical on any project, it seems I have to go to the hardware store at least twice. First, put this lock nut or ring onto the drain. This, you can see, is beveled. That needs to go down against the fitting. So the ring goes on first, then that. Next, we take this tail piece, and it's going to go into the drain. I'm going to tighten it down, not all the way, just enough to start the threads. So you can see it's too long. There's a lot of room for it to slip here and here. So what I need to do is I need to cut this shorter. There is a special tool for this, and I do in fact have one, but I'll show you how you can do it with just a utility knife. There we go. Disconnect the P-trap here. Slide it in. Then reconnect it. Once you have everything aligned the way you want it, go ahead and tighten all of these up. Now that I have everything tightened up, I'm going to turn the water on and check for leaks. First, I have to find my handles and get those reattached. Check for leaks at the bottom and the top. Completely dry there. Completely dry. Now we'll turn it on. You may have noticed there was some dark colored water that came out of this. It's because from the manufacturing there's either flux or something along those lines. It's stuff that's just in it from it being new. Don't worry about it. It's nothing to concern yourself with. Just make sure you get it fully flushed. Okay, first check. And it looks like I got a little bit of water dripping here. It's coming from all the way up at this end. So So we'll see if tightening that down fixes it. Okay, it looks like it's stopped dripping. Now there's one more test we want to do. First, make sure everything's dry. Now close the drain and fill the sink. What this is going to do is it's going to give a lot more pressure on that drain system when this empties out. So we'll fill this up and just drain everything out, make sure there are no leaks. Turn off the water and then drain. Check for leaks. There we go. Everything is dry. The plumbing portion of the job is complete. You can see that this vanity was designed for a drain that was higher up because right here, when I close this lower drawer, it hits. Always some. The backsplash that came with this is inside this box. First, I want to test fit it. Make sure the surface that you're putting it on is clean and dry. To stick this down, I'm going to use silicone. I'm using clear. You could use white on something like this. The important thing is make sure it's a kitchen bath plumbing. Now, before you start this, make sure you have a damp, clean rag. Now I'm going to run a bead from all the way down there to here that this is going to sit on top of. Notice it's going to squirt out here. That's expected and that's just fine. Now we use the best tool there is for smoothing silicone, your fingertip. This is where you want that damp rag. If it was fairly thick, there may be a film of silicone still on the surfaces outside of the corner. Use just the damp edge of the rag. You can see it picks it right up. Now, depending on your mood and depending on what you will like, you can also seal across this back to keep water from going down behind it and against the wall. The nice thing about clear silicone is it goes on white, but it'll dry clear. Now back to this drawer. What I want to do is mark the center line where the pipe is. I'm going to guess the depth here. So it's about my full finger in depth. I'll go a little bit more. Looks like my finger is roughly 3 inches, so I will probably go 3.5 to give myself a little extra space. I'm going to go 2 inches on either side. So that should give us the center. Visual check. Looks like we're good. So I'll drill one here, then cut up, over, and up. And we'll have a nice notch. Then I'll have to figure out how to paint it, make it look nice again. And now to test it. Perfect. There we go, job done. Thanks for watching.